NHL Draft Day is finally here, and the Islanders have a lot of decisions to make. Their choices will have a big impact on the future of the franchise.
You're Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Gil Martin here. Welcome, everybody, to the Friday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We have got a lot to get to today. It is draft day here around the NHL tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern time. The NHL Draft will get underway. We're going to talk about what to expect from the Islanders. Plus, can this Islanders team overcome the contradiction in their approach to build a consistent winner? And we'll take a look back at how the Islanders have done with the 13th overall pick in the draft in their history. Let's start with the draft tonight. The New York Islanders hold pick 13. They do not have a pick in the second or third rounds, and then they have 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th round picks coming up on day 2, on Saturday. First of all, because this is a team with a lot of needs right now, we need more goal scoring. We need at least 2, probably 3 top 6 forwards. We need right shot defensemen. We need a backup goalie. We need more physicality. We need more speed. Now, some of those things can be, you could check multiple boxes with some players. You can get a guy who could score goals and be fast, or who can score goals and be physical. But the point is, there are a lot of needs for this team and not a lot of high picks to fill them. I know a lot of fans have been frustrated because it seems like all the teams in the Eastern Conference and a lot of the teams in the Metropolitan Division have been busy making trades, getting better, whether it's the Capitals or the Devils or the Sabres, the Blue Jackets. All these teams are making trades and trying to get better, and the Islanders seemingly have not done any significant moves. There is a lot to learn in the next 10 days. 10 days to 2 weeks will be the draft and then free agency. We will learn the fate of Anders Lee, most likely. We will learn the fate of Tony DeAngelo. We will see if the Islanders make qualifying offers to Mark Gatcomb, for example, David Riddick as a possibility. We will see, a lot of things we didn't know the answer to. The answers will start to come into focus. But ultimately, what I expect from Mathieu Darche over the next few days, and what I hope to see from Mathieu Darche, may not be the same thing. I expect that Darche will hold on to pick 13 and take the best available player. I know, like I said, the needs are big. There are multiple needs for this team. And remember that regardless of who the Islanders pick, at 13, the odds of that player being a significant contributor to this team this season are very, very slim. Matthew Schaefer was the exception to the rule. A guy who could come in and be a star player from day one and play all 82 games. Remember, all last summer and into training camp and even in the first few games of the regular season, we weren't sure whether they were going to send Schaefer back to juniors. Now, it quickly became apparent that was not the case. But remember this, Schaefer was the first overall pick in the draft, not the 13th. Would it make sense for the Islanders, depending on how the board breaks down, to trade back in this draft? I think it would. If there are 4 or 5 players, let's say, who the Islanders have ranked roughly evenly, or 4 or 5 players who they think, yeah, we would be very happy getting any one of these guys, and you got the 13th pick, and somebody says, all right, you can go back to 17 and we'll throw in a second-round pick or a third-round pick. If I'm Mathieu Darche, unless there's one guy I really want at 13, I absolutely listen to that offer and try to get the most possible amount of picks or young players or prospects back. The free agent class this year is thin. It is not considered deep. That is one big reason that we have seen a lot of trades go down in the last 10 days or so. And I think we are going to continue to see multiple trades made Friday and Saturday at the draft. That, you may be watching day 2 of the draft on Saturday, and a lot of fans may not be familiar with many of the players that are being taken. But in between all those picks, and the Islanders don't have one until round 4, but in between all those picks, rest assured, trades will be taking place, whether the Islanders are directly involved or not. I still want to see an effort made by Mathieu Darche to get rid of some of these veterans on bad contracts, free up some cap space, bring in younger players, player picks, prospects, build this team for the future. Again, to me, the most logical player on the roster to trade is Adam Pelech. Not that I am eager to get rid of Adam Pelech. I think he's still a very good player. Not as good as he was 3 or 4 years ago as far as his physical situation. Injuries have taken a toll. But he's still a really good second pair defenseman in this league. But at the age of 31, his value will probably never be higher on the trade market. And he just is coming off a season where, for the first time in quite some time, he played all 82 games. Pelech makes sense to trade, in my mind, for multiple reasons. Number one, you have more depth at left defense. Number two, you'll actually get a return for him. He has value. He's worth, whether it's a first-round pick or another player in the mold of Cal Ritchie, or even if you trade him for a right-shot defenseman who's 24, as opposed to, and roughly comparable in talent, as opposed to the 31-year-old left-shot defenseman. He also, as of July 1st, has only 16 teams he cannot be traded to without his consent. And you free up very important cap space. Whether the Islanders will trade him, I don't think they're trading Matthew Barzal. That would be a huge move, a blockbuster, blow him up kind of a move. I don't expect to see that unless somebody blows Mathieu Darche's socks off with an offer that just he could not say no to. But fans want to see some movement towards some kind of a plan from this team. We know, based on the last 5 seasons, this team needs improvement. They missed the playoffs 3 times, got eliminated in the first round the other 2 seasons. That's 5 years without a playoff series win. This roster, as it is currently constituted, is not good enough to contend for a Stanley Cup. At best, it is good enough to squeak in as one of the final playoff spots. How do you get from here to contending? Not playoff contending, Stanley Cup contending. That is the question Mathieu Darche has to answer. And he has to start taking steps to get there. And we know not to expect major moves. Darche has already said he knew the core had to stay together, most likely for 2 seasons. This year it would be season 2. He's said after the season ended, in April, that, shortly after that, he said, Alexander Romanov and Kyle Palmieri may be our additions this offseason. I would be happy with some subtractions, whether it's a trade of Pelech, whether it's moving on from Anthony Duclair or Pierre Engvall or Andre Palat. There are a lot of guys that this team should be looking to move, even if they get nothing more than cap relief and, a 7th round pick. Like if someone offered me a 6th or 7th round pick for Pierre Engvall or Andre Palat, I'd do it tomorrow, because the cap space is more valuable to the Islanders than the services of that player. And the pick helps to whatever, or even a prospect. But what I need to see from Mathieu Darche is a direction and moves toward that direction. Will we see it? Will it be clear? I don't know. Do we need to be patient to a point? Yes. And I'm willing to be patient. I do not need to see this team make 7 bold, outrageous moves just for the sake of making moves. But 1 or 2 moves that show me the path ahead, I'd like to see that. I am willing to be patient with this organization, with Mathieu Darche, with trying to get this team back to perennial cup contention, which they have not been in since the mid-1980s. But give me a reason to believe. I don't need a finished product right here, right now. I need a direction and a reason to believe. And I think that is not too much for New York Islander fans to ask for. We're going to learn a lot tonight, tomorrow, and once free agency starts, between now and let's say July 8th or so, we're going to learn a lot about this team and this organization. Hopefully, the good news outweighs the bad news, and don't be shocked if we get the unexpected at some point. Lots to learn over the next few days. We have got more to get to today. Can the Islanders overcome the contradictions in their approach? We're going to talk a little bit about that. We'll have the Islanders' history with the 13th overall pick. And for our Islanders' birthday of the day, a big physical defenseman who started his career with the Rangers, then went on to play for the Islanders and later worked for the Islanders front office. He was an Islander in the late 1990s and early to mid 2000s. Let's see if you can guess who this player is. All that coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. If you've got a sweet tooth like I do, you know how tough it is to find that perfect treat without all the sugar. That's why the Fruity Rainbow 5 Hour Energy Shot brings that nostalgic flavor back in a whole new way. Fruity Rainbow 5-Hour Energy Shot treats your taste buds to an explosion of fruity flavor with a tasty caffeine kick. It's quick and easy, and it's a way to satisfy that sweet craving while keeping things simple and on the go. This is a zero sugar treat that is sweet tooth approved, and I like how convenient it is too. It's just a small portable shot that I can grab whenever I need a little pick-me-up. It's become my go-to when I want something sweet without going overboard. Get candy-flavored chaos with Fruity Rainbow 5-Hour Energy Shots, available online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. That's 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. There are more live events than ever worth seeing right now. Games, concerts, comedy shows, festivals. The hard part isn't usually deciding what you want to attend. It's actually getting the tickets. Between long wait times, confusing checkout processes, and surprise fees, buying tickets can sometimes feel harder than it should. That's why so many fans are turning to Game Time. The app is built to make buying tickets simple, with upfront pricing, seat views before you buy, and exclusive saving opportunities that help you get to the events you want without the usual hassle. My biggest pet peeve is when you think you found a great deal, get all the way to checkout, and suddenly the final price looks completely different, but Game Time takes the guesswork out. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to every type of event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Get your daily Islanders fix completely ad-free by joining the Everydayer Club today. Start your 7-day free trial right now and get closer to your team without the interruptions. Click on the link in the show notes or go to lockedonislanders.supercast.com for more information. I wanted to talk about the approach we've seen so far from the New York Islanders. And I get what they're trying to do. I just don't know how realistic it is. According to the Islanders and multiple sources, the Islanders' goal is to continue to try to compete for the playoffs now while rebuilding the roster with younger players during the transition. And I get it. If you're running the New York Islanders, the one thing you don't want to tell your fans up front is, you know what? We may not be a very good hockey team for the next couple of years while we rebuild or retool or whatever you want to call it. You want your fans to have hope for this year, and you want your fans to want to show up, buy tickets, support the team, watch the games on TV, etc., etc., etc. The goal with all of this, according to Mathieu Darche, is to build a long-term perennial contending hockey team. That, to me, should be priority one. Making the playoffs as the 7th or 8th seed is one of the wild cards, or even if you manage to get 3rd in the Metro, it's a bonus. It's good, but it's a bonus. The priority should remain building that long-term, perennial, contending, successful team. The moves that were made late last season, particularly the Palat and Schenn trades, set back that future and sacrificed some of it in order to try to make the playoffs last season. Again, I think it was a mistake. I understand why Mathieu Darche did it, but ultimately, the better move would have been to either stand pat or even, move out some other players to try to add picks, prospects, and what have you. I understand when you're in a playoff hunt, you don't want to trade your captain. You don't want to trade an important player like J.G. Pageau. I get it. And I would have been okay with standing pat even more than I was with the moves they made. But here we are. And the fact of the matter is that if you are looking to retool and get more young players, picks, prospects, etc., not making the playoffs helps that goal more than making the playoffs does. You get a better draft pick. You trade away at the trade deadline when you're not in playoff contention. You trade away. Like, if the Islanders would not have been in playoff contention last year at the deadline, trading away Anders Lee and or J.G. Pageau would have made so much more sense. It would have been a no-brainer. And maybe there were some other players that they would have looked to trade. And you're certainly not adding Braden Shen and Andre Palat. And probably not Carson Soucy. But either way that you look at it, in my mind, yeah, it would be nice to make the playoffs this coming season and maybe the season after that. But the priority, anything that gets in the way of that long-term contender, constructing that long-term contender, cannot be the priority. I know that ownership makes a few $1 million with every home playoff game. And even if you're one and done, you get 2, maybe 3 home playoff games, and let's say that's $5 or $6 million to the team. I know you want to make that money, but think about what you would make if you were in the playoffs 5, 6, 8 years in a row and weren't just eliminated in the first round, but you went to the conference final or the Stanley Cup final, or how much you would make if you win a Stanley Cup. There is a contradiction between, yeah, we want to make the playoffs now, and we want to retool with younger players and build that perennial Stanley Cup contender. And you could try to do both. But there are going to be times when those two things contradict, where you have to pick a lane. And to me, the priority ultimately has to be what gets me to that perennial Stanley Cup contender. Will that be the approach of Mathieu Darche? Did he learn from the mistakes he made late in the season with the trades he made? We're going to find out, and we're going to start finding out in the next 10 to 12 days as the draft and free agency and maybe some trades all unfold. We have got more to get to on today's show. We'll look at the Islanders' history with the 13th overall pick in the draft. Plus, we have our Islanders' birthday of the day. Have you guessed who it is yet? All this and more next on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. ED is way more common than most guys think, and millions of men deal with it at some point. HIMSS offers a simple, convenient way to take care of your health by connecting you with licensed healthcare providers online and giving you access to personalized treatment options from the comfort of your home. No awkward appointments, no pharmacy lines, just a straightforward process designed to make getting care easier. Taking care of yourself shouldn't feel complicated, and HIMSS makes the process private and easy to navigate. It's healthcare built around your schedule and comfort. A lot of people put things off because they don't know where to start. HIMSS makes it easier with a straightforward online process and discreet delivery, so getting care feels more comfortable. To get simple online access to personalized, affordable care for ED, hair loss, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/LockedOnNHL. That's hims.com/LockedOnNHL for your free online visit. hims.com/LockedOnNHL. Prescription required. See website for details and important safety information. Sildenafil is a generic version of Viagra. Viagra is a registered trademark of Viatris Specialty LLC. HIMSS is not affiliated with or endorsed by Viatris. barring a trade, tonight will be the third time that the New York Islanders have held the 13th overall pick in the NHL draft. And I got to say that the track record is kind of mixed. One of the two players worked out really, really well for the Islanders. Another one less so, but had some benefits as well. In 1985, with the 13th overall pick, the Islanders selected Derek King. And King had a 14-year NHL career, had 499 points. That his career started in 86-87 with the Islanders, played in 638 games with the Islanders, and then went to the Hartford Whalers at the trade deadline in 1997, played with the Whalers, the Maple Leafs, and the Blues, and then became a coach. Both in the NHL and the AHL, was the interim head coach of the Blackhawks during the 2021-22 season, and now he's the head coach of the AHL's Hershey Bears. Derek King was a great acquisition at the 13th pick in 1985. 2 years later, the Islanders selected Dean Chynoweth out of the Western Hockey League. He made it to the Island in 88-89, stayed with the Islanders organization through 95-96. As a defenseman, he had 22 points in 241 games. Spent time in the Bruins organization, then went into coaching, was an assistant with the Islanders from 2009 to 2012, and is now an assistant with the Winnipeg Jets. Chynoweth, good guy, but never really had a, let's just say, as a first-round pick, his NHL career was a bit of a disappointment. And if you think about it, hitting on 50% of your first-round picks in the NHL, especially back in the 80s, kind of par for the course. The Islanders need to hit on this one. No second-round pick, no third-round pick. Got to hit. We'll see whether it's more Derek King or more Dean Chynoweth. And, let's be fair. These players should, rise or fall on their own merit, not on what happened back in the mid to late 80s with either of these other two players. But that is the Islanders' history with the 13th overall pick. Time now for our Islanders' birthday of the day. And Saturday will be the 52nd birthday of former Islanders defenseman Eric Cairns, originally a third-round pick by the Rangers in 1992. The 6'5", 220-pound Oakville, Ontario native made his NHL debut with the Rangers in 96-97. Came to the Islanders for the 98-99 season, stayed on the island through the 03-04 campaign, and then briefly played for the Panthers and Penguins. Hung up his skates after the 06-07 season, played in 457 NHL games, had 10 goals, 42 points, and 1,182 penalty minutes, had 28 penalty minutes in 16 playoff games, with all of those, except 3, coming with the New York Islanders. One of his better games as an Islander, and he was a big, tough, rugged defenseman. November 23rd, 2001, Islanders hosting the Maple Leafs at the Nassau Coliseum. Cujo, Curtis Joseph, the goalie for Toronto. The Wizard of Oz, Chris Osgood, in between the pipes for your New York Islanders. And the Islanders and the Maple Leafs tied 1-1 in the second period. Sean Bates got the scoring started for the Islanders. Matt Sundin answered for the Leafs. But then our Islanders' birthday of the day, Eric Cairns scored his first goal of the year, unassisted at 9:15 of the second period. That put the Islanders up 2-1. A late goal in the third by Michael Pekka made it 3-1, and that's how it ended. Chris Osgood with 24 saves, but for Eric Cairns, he played 10 minutes and 42 seconds. He scored on his only shot on goal. He was a +1, and it was the game winner. Eric Cairns, who spent a lot of time in the Islanders front office, after his playing career was over and who was a very useful physical defenseman for the New York Islanders. He is our Islanders' birthday of the day. You can get your daily Islanders fix completely ad-free by joining the Everydayer Club today. Start your 7-day free trial right now and get closer to your team without the interruptions. Click on the link in the show notes or go to lockedonislanders.supercast.com for more information. I'm Gil Martin. I've been covering the New York Islanders for 2 decades, and I wrote the book Ice Wars on the history of the Islanders' rivalry with the Rangers from 1972 till the modern era. So glad you could join us today to talk a little Islanders hockey. We are proud to be part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We have new episodes dropping every day, Monday through Friday, so hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network and making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Every dayers, we plan to have a bonus episode, excuse me, that will drop at our usual time on YouTube midnight, Friday night / Saturday morning to discuss the Islanders' first round pick in this year's draft. Then we will also on Monday come back and talk about the players the Islanders picked on day 2 of the draft, any trades that were made, and any other moves and news, notes, and happenings. So make sure you join us for that. If you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, email us at lockedonislanders@gmail.com. If you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. You can follow the show on X at Locked On Isles. You can follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYRVSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all year long. It's always great to talk Islanders hockey with you. Also, during the draft, I will be working for Locked On NHL, helping to update everybody on all the picks by all the teams. So make sure you join us for that coverage, which we'll get to. And that will include at least a 1-minute video clip on the Islanders pick. So Locked On NHL, Locked On Islanders, going to be all over your feed. Watch and enjoy. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow and stay safe. And of course, let's go Islanders.